All right, everybody, and welcome back to Set the Pipe. I am Sully, and with my co-host, that's CK there, and then there's Bear, Tim Johnson. Today, we have a two-time Olympian, and everybody should know his face at least, being behind and in front of the camera. Kevin Barnett is on Set the Pipe. Welcome, brother.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, guys.
So fired up to have you on here. I'm glad I ran into you at that game and was able to just, make it work. So appreciate with all you do, as busy you are right now, especially with everything going on in volleyball. Thanks for taking the time to chat volley with us and stories and all kinds of things that go in between.
So, you guys sit back and relax, Kevin. I'm going to talk a little bit about your accolades. So again, like I said, he is a two-time Olympian, Sydney 2000, Athens 2004. College career began at Pierce College. That's where I saw him at first. Saw this tall, lanky kid that can jump through the roof. And then he transfers to Pepperdine, where he had an amazing career there. 1,145 kills just in 2 seasons at Pepperdine. A couple All-American statuses as well. And then he jumped to the national team. And like I said, two-time Olympian. Then he goes to Belgium, Italy, and Austria to have an amazing professional career. And then he comes back actually to become a broadcaster, has made him a prominent figure in the volleyball media, which continues today. And Bear and I were talking before CK and you came on, how just it's been so nice to see you progress in the broadcast world, and it's just gotten better and better, and just so much fun to listen to, because I take great pride into listening to those broadcasters that know our sport, right? That know the nuances, that know the different the rules and the sets and what they're called and what they're not called, and how things are just progressing. So I think you're one of the top 5 for sure. And it's so much fun to watch. I told Holly McPeak the same thing, as finally we had somebody out there talking our language instead of talking down to us like, oh, this is a side out. This is what we do in volleyball, blah, blah, blah. No. Just talk to us, because the only people that's watching volleyball are volleyball fans. So it is a pleasure for me to have you on, not only as a former player and watching you play, but also as a broadcaster too. So everybody, that is Kevin Barnett. And CK, you usually have something to say.
Yeah, I mean, I ask everyone this, Kev. I don't know how many you've watched, and if you haven't, I don't blame you. But just kidding. Looking back at your no, I'm just joking. There's a few you should watch Geeters, because he'll make you laugh, of course. But looking back at listening to what Sully just said, like, how does it make you feel when, you're a 2-time Olympian, you were an All-American, you played for Big Daddy at Pierce, you had an amazing career that people would love to dream of. Forget what you're doing now. We'll talk about it in a second, but just to hear about all those accolades, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, I didn't know I was going to be there, and I didn't know I was going to stay. So I guess that's kind of the thing I take from it, is like, wow, I did rise up pretty quick, and then I didn't plan on staying and being a volleyball guy forever. But at this point, I don't think there's any leaving at 51 and taking off to a whole new genre, at least. No leaving this behind. So I hadn't even played the sport before I turned 18, and then came out to California and
wow.
Ended up going through the whole junior college protocol, and actually a year before junior college, and just kind of figure my way through the world. And it's a random set of circumstances. There's a definite butterfly moment in my life that without that, I don't know if all this happens. I don't know if I end up where I am if you mess with that.
So you said you started late at 18, or like your senior year in high school. How did you decide to play volleyball? Like how'd that come about?
So I grew up in Illinois, in suburban Chicago, and it's been a girls' sport forever. It was never a boys' sport until 1991. And in 91, a friend of mine happened to have played. And 91 junior year for me was just a washout year. I just wasn't into anything. I was a future gas station attendant of America, is what I tell people. That's where I was headed. Just long hair, not happy about anything, no direction. So I actually came out between my junior and senior year. I came out here to California, and I came up to Hermosa Beach to stay with my Vietnam vet uncle and work for him in his shoe business up in West LA. And that started with getting up at 5:30 in the morning and going to Sports Club LA to work out, which I'd never done in my life before. And then working the shoe store all day, and then driving him back home, get up and do it again 6 days a week. And what started out as getting up at 5:30 became getting up at 5:15. Then it became getting up at 5 o'clock. Then it was 4:45. So it was like a steady progression of basically Marine boot camp for me of, hey, you need a little structure in your life. You need a little direction. I got to Sports Club LA the first time. He set me up with a trainer. I could not bench the bar. I was at that point like 6'2" maybe, and probably soaking wet, 140 pounds at the most. And so I at least got into that mode where I was working out and I was doing something. I wanted to play on the basketball team my senior year. And I went and tried out for the hoops team. I was the last guy cut from that very upsetting experience that would circle back 20 years later. But I got
what high
cut
school?
from that. So
you were out here?
Naperville North. No, I was at Naperville
okay,
North.
So this is
Chicago.
before you. Okay, so you're back in Chicago before you came. Yeah, okay.
Right. So I just came out for the summer and then I went back. So I was out here for 3 months and then I went back to Illinois and got cut from the hoops team. So I said, my buddy came and said, what are you going to do in the spring? I said, by that point I'm in, like I'm still working out. I'm into it. I'm having a good time. I'm 6'6" by that point and 170 pounds. And so I said, I don't know. I'm going to run track. I'm going to do something. He goes, why don't you come play volleyball? So I went to the tryout. I ended up playing front row all season long. The second year the team ever existed, we were dead terrible. And from that experience, I decided I'm going to move to California and become a professional volleyball player. What an audacious idiot thing to say. So 17 days after high school, after graduation, I moved out here.
That's crazy.
But again, you bet on yourself, right? You bet on yourself. You fell in love with it. And you also, came to the right place with going to Pierce and playing for Big Daddy too, to probably help you with some of that. But like, I'd love to hear how that went. Like, so you move out here. I cut you off, Sully. You wanted to maybe say something as well.
No, I was even going to go further than that. And in terms of when Bear and I were looking at your resume, and I'm like, I remember him being an All-American, but man, you go from Pierce to a couple years of All-American, and then you make 2 Olympic teams. And so I don't think, now this isn't a rub against you. You weren't first team All-American, right? Weren't you second and third?
That's a real problem for me. I was second team 2 years in a row, and that second year was a bunch of crap. I'll tell you that right now. Gabby Amar on the first team? Are we joking? What are we doing here? Whose home
this is why
was that?
I mean,
all right.
I guess it's just a good story, right? You go, you're not this first team All-American on paper, but you go to 2 Olympians. I think that's a good story for those people out there, just to not give up. And you're a late, I can't even call you a late bloomer. You just didn't even start until you're 18. I think it's a great story, by the way.
I mean, that's incredible, right? Like
it's irrational is what it is. It's totally irrational.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe so, but still great story.
Yeah.
So when you got out here and you decided to play volleyball, and did you go to Pierce right away? Did you have a year off, or what? You just went right to Pierce and just started training there and learning more of the game itself, and then boom, obviously Big Daddy and Marv were friends. So what a great pipeline if you could be good enough to have that chance to go play for both of them.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for you.
I lucked into this, and this is the situation. So I came out, and basically my plan was to leave my home in Illinois and leave my mother behind, who I was sick of her. She was sick of me, rightfully so. And there was like a come to Jesus moment during Christmas. My uncle came out from here. And that man has functioned basically as my father for a long time. He's the guy who I get a bunch of advice from, and who I lean on, and who I've watched age and try and model my life after. And he came out, and there was a discussion between him, me, and my mother. And my mom said, you have a few options. They all start with you move out and. So the rest was up to me, but that was after high school. I was moving out, and so I chose the one that was you move out and move to California to become a professional volleyball player. But I had to live on my own. So I moved in with my uncle, and he said, you've got, 2 weeks to find a place. At the end of 2 weeks, I hadn't found a place and a job. At the end of 3 weeks, I hadn't. And then he told me, he said, listen, you got 1 more week. And at the end of this, if you don't have something arranged, I'm going to take you to shelter myself. And he wasn't kidding. So I ended up moving in. Actually, I live on Avenue A now in Redondo. I ended up moving in on the corner of Avenue A and Catalina to an apartment I could not afford, but I had enough money saved to span it for a little bit. And I moved out, and I started working at the local gym for minimum wage, and finally began kind of in the winter playing during the day and then working at night. I eventually got a restaurant job, and I was working restaurants in the evening. I worked Cheesecake Factory, Houston's, down here. And that was my existence for a while. And that was all the way. So I graduated summer of 92. that was into summer of 93. And this is where the butterfly effect takes place. If you guys got a minute for a story.
No, that's what it's for.
I was playing down at Marine. Marine was the place back then. You got the Orange Court, you got Dodd, Hovland. Those were the guys. Fenoy was playing down there at that point. He graduated. David Swadek was a big deal, still at UCLA, but beach guy, all kinds of really good players. So I would go down there and I would try and get games. And when I first tried to get games, well, I'm like an East Coast guy, Midwest, but anywhere east of, say, Sepulveda is considered the East Coast.
You're not kidding.
I was trying to get some games and I couldn't. So I had to start with the old guys. So I was playing with like Dave and Jimmy Blackburn and Sterling Standage, who just passed away. If you guys know him, he's a legend here in the South Bay. So those are the guys who would let me play at first. And that was about the level I was, to be quite honest. And then I worked my way up from that to like playing against Cam Green, who was hot shit coming out of high school, going to go to Northridge, and try to steal his girlfriend. That's a story for another day. And I graduated to that level. And then it's late in the summer. It's like late July. I'm getting better because I'm just playing every day. I play 5 hours a day and I go back to my apartment, then I go to work, and then I come back and then I play again 6 days a week, play tournaments, whatever. So at some point I get invited by Chris Young. So I know who Chris Young is, mid-level AVP guy at the time. Chris Young asked me if I want to get a game on the Orange Court. I was like, yeah, of course. So we play a couple games. I don't remember against whom or what the hell happened. But at the end of it, he asked me, he said, well, what are you doing for school in the fall? I don't know. I have no idea. No plans. He goes, listen, you need to call Rick McLaughlin at Loyola Marymount. I said, all right, great. So apparently he prepped Rick. On a break at Cheesecake Factory where I was working, I went up to the payphone on the second floor, pouring rain outside, and I called Rick and I said, hey, Chris told me to call you. And he said, yeah, this, that, back and forth. And he says, how are your grades? Well, Rick, not so good. and so he goes, all right, you need to call Big Daddy, Ken Stanley, up at Pierce Junior College. So that's how I ended up there. Is I said, all right, Rick, well, whatever you say. And I actually had known a couple people. I had met Paul the summer before unwittingly, and Tanya, another girl who played there, who played coached at Santa Monica, I think later played at Santa Monica. And I had met them randomly, so I at least knew what Pierce was. So I go up there, I drive up. My aunt has to drive me because I don't have a car by that point. I'm just on a bicycle. So she drives me up there to Big Daddy's office, and I sit there, and he goes, okay, fine. He goes, I said, do you want me to hit some balls or something? Like, you want me to try out? I got my shoes with me. He goes, no, I just need to know you're going to be here. So I know to put your name on the list. Like, okay. So that was how I ended up at Pierce. I'm like, all right, I'm coming. So I moved into NCR right across from Northridge, and that's how I ended up at Pierce.
Yep. We both lived there at NCR. It's a tough place to live back in those days. Northridge campus residence is what it was.
Oh, NCR.
I went through the earthquake there.
Quite the place. Yeah. There were dorms. Tough. They're not there anymore. It's still there, but it's not dorms anymore. But it had the cafeteria. It was like a one square building. It's, again, we don't need to bore you with the details of that.
You want to know one augment to this? Yeah. Rick got me there. And so years later, my son ends up going to Santa Barbara, playing for Rick. And out of COVID, there's a kid on the team named Ethan Young. So now, without Chris Young intervening in this moment, in 1993, I don't know what happens. I have no plans to go to school. I don't know what's going to go on.
Yeah.
So this whole odyssey happens, right? In 2006, I moved back here to California after I retired. I'm at the Manhattan Beach, whatever they call it, the fair, hotel fair. And I'm in the beer garden, and I turn around, and there's Chris Young. And I turn back around, I was like, holy shit. Arian, my wife, I'm like, I got to tell Chris Young this story. I turn back around, he's gone. Never saw him again.
Missed him.
So flash forward to 2021, Santa Barbara, Ethan Young is on the team. That's Chris's kid. So we're going to this pregame thing at UCLA, and I get there, and sure enough, there's Chris Young. And I was like, Chris, I got to tell you this story. So what he proceeds to do is tell me the story from the other side. So you never get the story from the other side, right? He says, look, I'm down there playing, and I look over, and here's this kid's got one ball. And he just murders it in a jump serve and then runs like 45 yards to get the ball, comes back, murders the ball the other way, goes off and gets the ball 45 yards. I watched you do this for 40 minutes. He goes, I just had to find out what you were all about. I just was like, I don't even know what this kid is doing. How can you just be out here going like that? So that's why he invited me to play.
That's cool. Hey, so Rick was at LMU. What did he think about you choosing Pepperdine?
They didn't have a program anymore.
Oh, yeah, that was a little bit later. They didn't recruit me. Actually, Northridge.
Oh, they were still around when you were playing at Pierce? Like after your second, first or second year at Pierce? Oh,
they got
LMU
cut.
was cut around like 95.
They got cut right around 2000, I think. Because Reed Pretty's the last one to go through there. So I think 99 maybe they got cut. Yeah, a couple years later. My brother was supposed to go there, and then he ended up going to Pepperdine. But same time that they were getting cut more or less. Yeah.
So Rick told you to go to Pierce, but then did you even look LMU's way?
No, what happened was
Pepperdine.
I had Marv recruiting me and I had Andy Reid recruiting me, who was at UC Irvine at that point. And so those were kind of my two choices. And I chose Pep. And then 2 days after I chose Pep and signed, Northridge called me. Shout out, Jeff. 2 days later.
Good job, Coach Campbell.
Yeah. But Pep was the right place for me for volleyball, and just for I still was a bit of a knucklehead, and like I needed Big Daddy, and I needed him off the court as much as I needed him on the court. And same thing for Marv. I was really lucky to have played for those men at that time in my life. And it's not like everything that they told me took at the moment, but certainly over time, it's been there and been a solid part of how I've approached volleyball as well as other things.
Yeah, if you don't listen to it, Marv Dunphy's interview was great. It was great from a perspective that even though you got hands on with the man, we interviewed Marv, we interviewed Al Skates, just to hear those legends talk. Al Knipe, who we know, I don't know if you heard, he retired today. So
he did
interviewed those guys. It's just
he just
retired
today.
Yep.
2 hours ago.
That, but just for you to have Marv Dunphy as a coach is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Before we get into that, I want to say something, because we started this, Kevin, for a few reasons. One is to tell the stories, evangelize volleyball, and just talk about different things. And like, what's cool about you and your story is it's unique. There's a lot of us got into it late, did these things, but what I love about our sport, and basketball guys would do this too and stuff, but like your somewhat existence of volleyball is because Chris Young was at the beach watching you work your ass off and decided to, because that's how Chris is. I love Chris, but to give you like, hey man, this kid's doing something. And like, it's just a small stroke of this. And sure enough, the volleyball community was looking out for you. I mean, college basketball coaches, I'm not going to say all of them, but a lot of them wouldn't say, oh, by the way, why don't you call this coach? I think he's going to help you. So you can go and get recruited somewhere else and kick the shit out of me. Like, they would never do that. Right. Like, and obviously we know what the kind of guys the McLaughlins are, but to do that for you and to give you an opportunity to go meet a coach who ends up being, like you said, an unbelievable human being and a man in your life that's helped you throughout the years. Just great sport we play, great community of volleyball. It makes me happy that we're doing this podcast with you, just in general, to tell stories like yours. I mean, you're one of those ones that, most people would say, oh, it just doesn't happen. I mean, you're living in Illinois. You come out here for the summer. You decide your mom, by the way, all moms should tell their kids to get out, just like yours did. But the world's a tough place, but just go get after it. But, you took chances on yourself, and what a great story. Thanks for sharing it. But I love our community of volleyball, and what your story just proves that again, of how people care about others, and other coaches, other players were, just looking out for you, even though you didn't even realize it at the time. Right. So kudos to volleyball again for doing that. So yeah. Yeah.
It's an interconnected world, and it's wildly interconnected. The sport of volleyball, it's getting bigger and bigger, but still so small at the same time. I don't know if you told these two guys this, but you and I intersected long, long ago, because you were playing for Northridge, but you'd occasionally come in and practice against Pierce. And I've never played a home game at Pierce. So the Northridge earthquake happened one semester into my time at Pierce. We had practice the very morning of January 17th, 1994. I was asleep in the dormitories at NCR waiting to go to practice that morning. And at 4:30, that earthquake hit, and it made the gyms at Pierce uninhabitable. They were red tagged. So we practiced at the beginning of the day, we are on the court at 5:30, like standing on the end line at 5:30, ready to go at Valley College, at Pepperdine, and Taft High School, wherever else we could get time. And we played all of our home games at Taft High School and at Valley College during the 2 years that I played at Pierce. But occasionally Coley would come in and play against us. And I remember this guy, I couldn't believe it. This guy jumps up in the middle and he looks over here and then he hits this way. And I'll never forget that about him. I was like, what? It's like, how do you even do that? Oh my God. I'm this little junior college dweeb, he's on a national championship caliber team. Just unbelievable. And it's like, oh, Coley Keeman just tore us up today. That dude's amazing. So.
Yeah, well, thanks. That was a long time ago. We also met, which was cool about the community you just said, is we don't need to tell the story because Rock and I told it, but New Year's Eve, we're in Amsterdam together because you're playing over there. Everyone got together. Like you said, it's such a small community. So I don't know where you were playing, if you were in Belgium or Italy, but you came into Amsterdam, and a bunch of others, had come in too. And that's what makes, again, this sport so great. And you're talking some of the top players, right? You're not talking the scrubs like me in the years later, but like, you're a two-time Olympian. And you're meeting up with a bunch of folks that you played with and against, and men and women, and just having dinner and, enjoying life. But that's, again, what makes it such a small community within volleyball, which I think what makes this sport so fantastic.
I think that was the first time I got to hang out with the cool kids. Was that time. Sealy brought me up because we were playing together in Belgium. I wasn't as cool as all you guys.
I don't know how cool we were. Yeah, I don't know how cool we were that night at New Year's Eve in Amsterdam.
I still tell stories about that night.
Yeah,
batteries of rockets going off. $1,300 credit card roulette stinger for somebody. I forget who. Maybe that was you.
Credit card roulette.
Credit card roulette.
I didn't lose, thank God. But those are the good times. Those are good times. You were about to ask him something, Bear.
Oh, I just want, being a two-time Olympian, can you go into a little bit of just like your being on the national team, being in two different Olympics, and share some of that with us? Because that sounds amazing. I mean, that's amazing. I'd love to hear your experience with the national team in Olympics.
Yeah, two very different experiences. First one, extremely disappointing. And I never realized how disappointed I was in it until the end of the second one. And the first time we went in, we were the third ranked team in the world. I had gone from being, a junior college newbie guy in 1993 to by 1997, that summer, I was starting on the national team by the end of the year. Well, by the time 2000 rolls around, I've been replaced because we started going fast to the pin and just jacking the ball as fast as possible. And John Hayden had beaten me out for the spot. And rightfully so. John Hayden's hitting window was like, this big, and my hitting window was like this big. And I could hit a high ball. I couldn't hit a fastball. Lloyd couldn't really locate that fastball into a tiny little window, which is what I needed. But for him and John, it was good. So John was playing. And I was playing in a reserve role, and we just got our asses kicked. We lost all 5 matches in our pool play, and we did not advance. We knew we weren't advancing before the last match. We looked like a junior college team against Serbia, then Yugoslavia. Yeah, still Yugoslavia in 2000, who would go on to win the gold medal. Not a fun experience. Good collection of volleyball talent, a terrible team when it came to resiliency or self-reliance, and especially by the modern construct of teams and how people relate on the level on which they relate and how they treat one another. Not a good deal. Not the right mix of people, and some folks pretty immature and awful. Somewhere between like the old school kill or be killed and today's awareness of making yourself better and those around you better. So flash forward to 2004, much different for me, coming off of a knee injury, a couple surgeries, kind of an unknown. I played my way in, and in 2000, it was kind of, the Olympics was just an extension of what we did, for me, just an extension of what we did. It really wasn't, quote, special necessarily. It was like, hey, you got to make the next tournament, Yeah, you got to make the Olympics, but it's just another roster you're trying to make in this constant struggle of like, hey, they're bringing 10 guys into the gym or 20 guys into the gym for summer, and they're the hot young college kid or this kid or that guy. And they're going to line up these guys at outside here and see if that works better than it works with you. Like, you're just constantly scrapping for that spot. So by the time 2004 rolls around, I'm not worried about all that other stuff. I've got a kid. I've got another one on the way. So I've got a pregnant wife into May. My second kid is born. The team's not announced. I'm literally just down to every day. I'm hoping that my body gets through the next day and that I play well in that day and that I get to go to the following day. So I used to wake up every morning and be like, once more into the breach, dear friends. That was how I felt about it. And that worked. Yeah. That worked so much better than worrying about what the whiteboard said or how many points were scored or what about John Hyde and this or what about that guy? What about, no, just every ball was, hey, I'm hoping to get to the next ball. It's a privilege to get to the next ball to the next day. And that worked a lot better for me. And I played my way into the starting role over the course of that summer, coming off of injury from the previous 2 years. And went to the Olympics. And I personally had a really good Olympics. The team, I think, maybe outperformed where we were. I'd love to have back the match against Russia for the bronze. We ran into the buzzsaw in the semis. We ran into one of two matches in my 10-year career that if we played it 10 times, we might win once, maybe. One was a Champions League final against Sicily Treviso. The other one is the Olympic semifinal in 2004. That Brazilian team is sentient. That is an amazing team, probably the best Brazil ever was, and that's saying something compared to how they've gone even past that. And that experience was really good. I love the guys on it. I love the trip. I loved our result. It's fourth. I've got 2 completion certificates, no medals, but they do send you one.
The experience of being in the Olympics is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's what, I'll say this, because as I've gotten older, and I talk to Geeter about this all the time when his daughter's playing and he's like, oh, we lost. And I was like, because I see it a little bit differently now. I'm a little, we're the same age, me, but I'll be like, yeah, Geet, but she was playing in it.
Right.
She was on center court when everyone was around it. And she was in that match competing. She lost. Like, we lose, right? Like we lost. I'd rather, like you, like that's all I ever wanted to do was play in the Olympics and I didn't get there. So like, I don't know how it would be like listening if I made it and it was a shitty experience or whatever the case is. But like when I hear studs like you talk about it and with your humility in saying it, it's still an amazing feat to me to know that you competed, played, represented our country, got to participate in one of the greatest spectacles of sport, ever. And so even though you didn't get the medal, besides everyone, we're proud of you. Like you were there, you were there. And like you said, you played against arguably one of the best teams in that Olympics for sure, maybe ever. You lost to them. And then, like you said, you like to have that game back against Russia, but it's pretty amazing to go there and do what you did. And the other thing I want to say, I know I talk a lot, is it's an important thing, the way you mentioned this. We just had a great sports psychologist on recently. Is not everything is perfect. Like if you were to take and talk to someone who's 17 years old and say, hey, you're going to go to 2 Olympics, they would just have a smile on their face. They would think it's the greatest thing of all time, right? And you just talked about a shitty experience with maybe some teammates, with the overall just philosophy of the way it was done. And it wasn't great. And so that's what, again, the reality of sports is important. And especially when we preach, not everyone wins. Not everyone has the best experience of their lives, but it's how you learn from it. Like you said, you had 2 kids, you had a wife, you had a great life ahead of you. You earned it. You did everything, and you catapulted that into one of the best, sports broadcasting volleyball careers ever. I'm waiting for you to start doing more college hoop games so you can call my kids' games in the next couple of years.
That would be amazing. Yeah, it's a good comment about if you laid it out in front of you and said, hey, here are the things that you're going to do. You'd be super stoked on those things for sure. But it's kind of the curse of people that make it that far. I mean, everybody who makes it that far is getting to one thing and then, hey, what's the next thing? And then the next thing, and then the next thing. So that's a bit of a blessing and a curse, that you're always thinking about what could the next thing be? Where can I get a little bit better? Where can I achieve the next goal? I never set out to make the Olympics. I mean, I'm a kid in junior college. Like Division I is just some other land that a couple of people get to go to. It's like a magical land through the wardrobe in your aunt and uncle's place during World War II or whatever, like Narnia. But it wasn't that I thought that would lead. It was like, okay, go to the tryout. All right, I'm gonna do my best at the tryout. And I was just out to kill everybody every day. It took me a long time to figure out how to behave as a normal human being and not want to just murder everyone every day in practice, even though like they're my teammates. One of the classic examples is me and Mike Lambert in a practice gym together at that point. Those are two dissimilar human beings trying to accomplish the same thing. You know, Mike's gotten there. He's gone through Stanford. He's been one of the top players. He's already gone to an Olympic Games in '96, and he's come back to college and played, and everything's working out. And I'm just some scrappy kid who would like to come through the net and punch you in the face every single day. And that's how I had to approach it because I was behind. And that is not the way to approach your teammates in practice every day. And it took me a long time to figure that out. And by the way, when I say 2000 was a terrible collection as a team, I include myself. I am not excluding myself from that. I am as culpable as anybody
100%.
else.
Yeah. And I knew that. And for some that needed to clarify that, that's what makes you great and all the other guys great. You can self-evaluate, your team can evaluate. You guys underachieved, right? You weren't happy with where you were. Wildly. And there's a lot of reasons because of it. Yeah. And you know it. And so that's what's great about it, about being at the highest level. And like I said, sometimes you're shitty and sometimes you're not. And so, you know, again, appreciate you just not clarifying it, but just letting everyone know that it's not perfect. And we're all striving in sports. You know, again, we had this wonderful episode coming out soon, but it's about trying to be the best you can be. And of course, in sports, you're trying to win. I mean, that's why we play. You're trying to win the championship. You go to the Olympics, you're trying to win the gold medal. Of course you are.
Yeah.
But only one team does. Only one team does. And so it's how you do it, what you do, how you achieve, what you get, the wins, the losses within the game, within the match, within the tournament. And again, only one's going to walk away with the medal. So it's always intriguing to me to listen to people like you, Kevin, that have played at such a high level and have come from such a different, not background, but like wasn't a Fab 50 kid out of high school and wasn't playing at Corona Del Mar or Miracosta and like was supposed to be this great player. And then coming into junior college in California, just wet off the plane from Illinois to turn that into 2 Olympians and, you know, broadcasting all the sport's biggest games a lot of the time is impressive. It's rad. But again, that's probably the attitude.
Nobody knew who I was. I went to a tryout after my second year of junior college. I went to a tryout for the B team and the A team down at the old Federal Building. And they divide you by position. And you go through all these drills all day. And then at the end of the day, they write the numbers of your T-shirts on the board in each position in the order of like points scored or whatever in ranking. And I was standing there and I remember they wrote the opposites and they wrote 190 first, my number. And they wrote the rest of the numbers. And all those guys from D1 are standing around like,
wait, I'm not 190.
Who's 190?
And just like, hi boys. Like, that was my first ever thing. And I made the B team roster and then never got even a chance, not even a notion of making that team from Jim McLaughlin. And that'll set you afire a little bit too. Like Tom Hoff, one of my good buddies and roommate on the national team for a long time, was convinced I was a crazy person from that experience, and probably true.
That's awesome. Hey, so if you had a magic wand, what would be the couple things that you would have changed on that? Knowing you're older now, right? Experience, got to see the game from a different perspective on that 2000 team. If you had a magic wand, what would you have changed?
I'd change myself. I'd change the way that I behave with my teammates, and the way that you out here. Okay, bye. My son going to coach, rock star.
Awesome.
I would change the way
I just talked to Ferb, by the way, right before this. Amazing.
Yeah. Reese Barnett, 17 or 18 twos, I think, this year. I don't know. He'll be upset that I don't remember. Coaching those boys. He's having a good time. I would change myself out of the whole thing. And I would just figure out that way to compete in practice, but relate off the court. And I would make a much more concerted effort to relate off the court to my teammates and learn more about them and learn how to treat them and make them better. It's not really of the time. It was very kill or be killed at that point. But I would like to be a little more aware earlier. Oh God. So I came out of JUCO 23. I was probably 27 by the time we went to the Olympic Games first time. Okay. But it had gone bad the year before. It just, It already team dynamic wise in retrospect had gone bad the year before. We just didn't know how bad it was. We didn't know how bad it was till we opened up
change
our first
personnel?
match against Argentina and we lost. We had beaten Argentina 15 times in 4 years and we lost to them first match of the Olympic Games.
Oh, would you have changed personnel? Would you have changed?
Yeah, we should
more,
change some personnel.
More than yourself,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
We should change some people out.
Because the chemistry.
No, because they're miserable. They're miserable. Like the program moved to Colorado.
Individuals.
The program moved to Colorado, and 22-year-old me, 23-year-old me had a lot of ideas, and he was wrong about a lot of them. But he was not wrong about the fact that I sat in Doug Beal's office in like 1999, maybe 98, and it just said, "Look, if these guys are unhappy, which plainly they are, send them home. Get them out of here. Like, if you don't want to be here, then fucking get out of here. I want no business of it." And those guys, some of those dudes we'd finish practice on Saturday afternoon. They'd be drunk from Saturday afternoon until Monday morning, the whole time. That ain't making us better. Like, you want to go out and have a beer? Like, okay, I'm down for going to have a beer now at this age. At that age, I was not. But like, I'm here to do something, and I may or may not be at whatever level. But the whole win the party, win the thing, that's not going to work here. The only reason it worked in '84 is the rest of the world wasn't as good. By 2000, that shit doesn't work. And we knew it before. Like, you can't be like that. If you're unhappy here in Colorado, which is where the team had to be because they had no money and they were going bankrupt, they were lucky to make payroll a few times, USA Volleyball at that point in the world, man, go. Beat it.
Yeah.
And we should have done that. And that cost us. And yeah, you might have taken a lesser volleyball player to the 2000 Olympic Games, but maybe you'd have taken a more cohesive unit. Maybe you wouldn't have. Maybe it just wasn't in us at that point. It might not have been. But at least don't make it miserable.
I have a quick question. How did the culture change from right after that Olympics to the different mindset? Did some of the older guys retire? Did Doug, who you sat down in his office, did he see what was going on and try to change that? What changed from right after that Olympic Games?
Yeah, a few things changed. A couple of guys who were miserable left, several, without naming names, but several guys who were miserable left, moved on, went to other things. The guys who were left matured a bit. We got some new young blood in, and we had to go through a struggle. I remember we had an assistant coach in that next year, 2001, and he brought us in one day, and he was upset that in the scrimmage we had lost to the B team. And I stood up and I was like, we are the B team. We have 3 guys who played in the Olympic Games, and we have the rest of these young dudes. There's no difference between them and us, basically. It is a roll of the dice. So we kind of went through building up some guys. We brought some guys back. The leadership dynamics changed a little bit. I matured a ton having a kid and having like practice and being at volleyball. That became, from what was kind of misery during the late 90s into 2000, I don't know why I hated to warm up. I mean, other than I hated being there in retrospect. But in that next time period, like, hey, if you have a screaming kid at home, it's real nice to be in the volleyball gym. It's a great place to be. You have a crying infant at home. So I was like, hey, I'm here for as long as I got to be here. Yeah.
That's right.
So that
What did you think about what did you think about Colorado Springs and the training facility there? I've been there a couple times. It's really nice and stuff, but the elevation, you have people are jump serving with the elevation lines, and I don't know, it just didn't. And you're far away from home, I guess. A lot of the players at that time were from California. Was it a good spot to train?
No. Fantastic services. As you nailed it. Fantastic services.
The food was great.
Yeah, food's great. Everything about that thing is great, except for the fact that it's at 6,500 feet or 6,300 feet. It's too high. Yeah. The ball behaves radically differently. So in 2004, we're maybe 4% from a medal. Like we beat Russia if we're 4% better, I think. And would you get 4% better over, say, 4 years or even 8 years, if you want to go all the way back to their time period there, if you actually could serve and receive with the behavior of the ball that you would see at the Olympic Games? Yeah, I think that's worth 4%.
Yes.
Because not only is it serving, but it's watching the ball bite, as a receiver. There's no short deep in Colorado with heat. If it has heat, it's going deep every time. But you can hit it, a little bit in, say, a 10-foot range back to front with a ton of heat at sea level. And all I needed to do was come back after being at sea level, or after being in Colorado for most of the summer. I came back and I played in a practice at Pepperdine. And the first ball I hit, you could see it from the service line just arcing down. Like, oh, well, there it is. Totally different ball behavior. So yeah, you need to be at sea level.
Did you have a mentor going through this time late in the 20s where you would have changed yourself in retrospect? Did you have somebody that put their arm around you going, hey man,
no,
it's, no, nothing like that, huh?
Nobody did that.
Yeah. So it was just nobody would do that for you. No one stepped up to do that for you.
And I don't know that I was ready. So it's probably both sides.
That was my follow-up question. Well, would you be acceptant to it?
Did you guys talk to Mike Gervais? Is that your sports psych that you have? Did you pull Gervais?
No, Andrea Becker.
No, okay.
And Andrea Becker.
I love Andrea. Yep. Yeah. That focus on like the Gervais side, the Becker side, like that kind of thing, I think is good at that level. And I don't know that I was ready. I don't know that I was ready for that. Now, unfortunately, if you look back at the team, one thing typifies the 96 team for me is somebody misses a short serve, and they're laying there on the ground, and Bob Stavertlick is standing over the top of them, just screaming at the top of his lungs at them. Like, what the hell is that? And then you get to 2000, and those dudes are coming out of dealing with guys like Stavertlick, and there's no real leadership from the team side. The organization's in upheaval, haven't moved because it doesn't have any money, and no one wanted the job. And Doug comes back, and Doug is old school, like 1984 kind of stuff. And, we have veterans, but those veterans are of varying quality, and nobody has real team leadership skills that shows up. So I think it's kind of a mess in that regard. It takes a long time to get back to something. And I do wish that I had somebody that would do that for me. Let's say I was open to it. Let's say I would get, someone would be strong enough to like, hey, crazy man, come here for a second,
Yeah.
Right. But I look forward, and the relationship that I see in all the years I've seen since that I think was really good was Sean Rooney and Matt Anderson. And you probably talked to Matt about this, but I talked to Matt years ago about this, like he came in and Sean was there, and Sean had this terrific college career, had moved to the national team, had a really good national team career, nice pro career. Sean, very thoughtful, intelligent dude, also came from Chicago. And he, I don't know if he took Matt or Matt took him, or it was kind of mutual, but I know Matt was following Sean on how to be a professional when Matt came out in 2009. And I think that was pretty beneficial for Matt. So that's the example of a relationship I think a lot of people would like to have when they get to that level.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. And then you follow with the pro career, right? So you had a ton of exposure to the Olympics, 3 different countries. How was that experience? Was there a specific place that you loved more than one over the other?
Yeah, I liked the volleyball a lot when I played for Macerata in Italy, my first time in Italy. I played on a team that won Champions League. I ended up having a knee injury and going home right before we went to the finals of that, but played in the rest of the matches. I was backing up 2 positions because I could play opposite or I could play outside, depending upon how well I could pass the moment. But I could always hit. So I was the second team horse on that team. And I got so much better every day because I was hitting, when I was hitting on the left, I was hitting against Ivan Milkovic. So Serbian outside who at 19 was MVP of the 2000 Olympic Games. I was playing head to head with him on one side. And then on the other side, I was head to head with Walt Weissmans, and who's the best player out of Belgium in the history of Belgium, who I played with in Mosaic years before. And then Marco Bracci. Marco Bracci was 36 at the time, but only one of the best outside hitters to ever do it in Italy. And I was playing on that team in that league against Treviso, playing against Bernardi, co-player of the century, is still playing at that point. I'm playing with Pasquale Gravino. We're playing against Gardini. Like the volleyball going on in that league at that moment, but going on in our gym every single day was just unbelievable. Marco Maioni's on that team. If you guys know Marco now, he's been over here in the States for a long time. That dude's hands down the best setter. And I'll tell you what, the team that we had was, the starters were Walt Weissmans, Marco Bracci. Opposite was Ivan Milkovic. Middle was Andrea Gerich, who was also a gold medalist, starting middle on that team in 2000. Marco Maioni setting. And then we had at libero, his name just jumped out of my head. National team libero. Anyway, people always ask me like, well, who's the best player on your roster? And I said, by position, our libero. He'd pass 2/3 of the court, money, and just dig balls like crazy. He was a complete libero at a time when that was a brand new position.
Right.
I gotta look up his name, but just that was the best guy on a team of really good players.
Really good players.
I want to bring up, we talked about this for a second, so I want to bring it back with Al Knipe. And when Al Knipe was on our podcast a couple of times, he talked about after the Natty, why his team was so good. And what he did was he trained harder in his training sessions than they did in their matches when they played. So it was easy for him. Easy for him is probably not the right word, but you know what I mean? So to listen to what you just said about going against some of the greatest to ever do it and some of the best at that time, how do you not get better? Right? I mean, how do you not get better competing against guys like you just mentioned? And so go back to Al Knipe, and you heard him retiring today. Like, that's how he trained at his school and why they were in 8 of the 9 Final Fours. So when you got to play and you got to get better at that, do you think that's maybe the best way to train? Or do you think do you have to have obviously the personnel for it? But
no, I mean, our system is bad for that. By the way, Mirko Corzano is the libero. Okay. He's incredible. You have to have those opportunities to play. That's why the American system is inferior to the European system in terms of volleyball.
We hear that a lot.
The American system is superior in terms of developing people. And that's why you see those stars send their kids here. Because, Gardini, for instance, his son came and played at BYU. He sends him here because he sees that, hey, this is going to be a whole person development, not just volleyball development. And you need that whole person. But we're way behind in terms of volleyball when we come out. I mean, the opportunity to train in a gym like this, if you're up and coming inside of what would be a college team over there, or the junior club team in any given city, you're getting reps with that number one team here. If somebody goes down, you're the practice dummy, you're coming in, or you're in the gym shagging balls for the number one team or whatever. You're seeing that level, and seeing that level on the regular will definitely reset you as far as what you think you need to do to level up each level. I said before, it's kind of an irrational existence. Making the national team, behaving the way that I behaved, is like being an NFL cornerback. And I don't mean elite speed and cat-like reflexes. That's not what I mean. What I mean is the irrational thought in my mind that whenever I stepped up, when I went from JUCO to Division I just assume you can't stop me any more than you can stop me in junior college. I don't really care who's over there. Oh, well, this team, that team, Tom Hoff's over there, this guy. Why do I care? Good luck. And then to go to the national team, same thing. I walked in the national team gym and they brought in, I think we had 30 guys our first summer. Never crossed my mind that you could stop me. If you get me on one, fine. Set me again. I'll get you this time. I'll hit it harder. And if you block me again, well, I'm about to come back and hit it even harder. Like, it's just caveman volleyball at some point. But the irrational belief that I could defeat all those guys in that gym, all those guys with all those accolades who won national titles at UCLA, been All-Americans, first team All-Americans, mind you. All those guys that I could somehow defeat those dudes, that's irrational. That's totally ridiculous.
But that also prevented you to gel. And that's what you said you wanted to improve on yourself, right? That hardcoreness, the caveman attitude, it had to be part of maybe what didn't click with the other guys, right? Even somebody approaching to be there, to mentor you. It's like, dude, that's caveman. That's not crazy man. That's caveman. I'm not dealing with that guy at all.
It's tough for me. I'm trying to hold my mouth because it's tough, Kev, because do you make it if you're not like that? That's the other thing.
Probably not.
You probably don't. And that's the hard part with me when I was saying I'm not getting into us about being that the parent you didn't want to yelling at your kid back in the day and then learning from it. Yeah. I don't know if Jake makes it to where he got to if I wasn't like that at the beginning. So go back to you, like hearing that, like you believed in yourself no matter what, and you proved it. And every day, whether you got beat or you didn't, you still believe that. And that's hard to separate to get to the point you got to, right? Like to be able to be successful at the level you got to. We're not just saying playing, starting in a junior college, being an All-American. playing in the Olympics, being one of the best in the world. Like, you got to those spots by being a dick and believing that F you to everyone else. I'm the best. You're not stopping me. Did it hurt you a little bit? Maybe. Like, as you said, maybe to some.
You're
but
the epitome of an underdog. And you kept it the whole way through. I mean, honestly, right? You go, you're the underdog. You come from Chicago, no volleyball. Come here, do all the things that you talked about, from Pierce to Pepperdine you were the underdog in your brain, right? Because you're always going, I'm gonna kick your ass.
Yeah.
Bring it. You don't know who I am. Like you're saying, like, oh, that's not your number. That's my number. Right. Because you're the underdog. Everybody's kind of looking around. So awesome. I mean, I think that's a great story.
But no, like you said, right. You have that.
Everything cuts two ways. And out here, so I've raised my son out here, and everybody's buddies, they know each other. Everyone knew who the best players were at 16 or 17 or whatever. All that, everyone's friends. Great. Yeah, I approached volleyball because all I ever wanted to do was play football. I just wanted to be a football player. My mom had seen Daryl Stingley go down in 1985 or whatever when he got paralyzed, and my mom wasn't going to let me play football. And my only way of playing sports was Mike Singletary or Dick Butkus. That was it. That's what I grew up with the Bears. Like, I am out here to spit on you and rip your fucking head off. And like, I still feel that way inside. Like, I can't do it anymore. My shoulder, my knees, whatever. But that person is still inside me that I would love to come across the net and just lay you out. But that's not great. I did figure out how to balance it. And a moment sticks out, like 2003 or something. I'm playing against Jim Polster. And Polster's kind of a dick too, which is great, but he's wry, he's funny, he's confident, he's the only guy in the gym whiter than me, and like super pale, ghosty. And I stuffed him straight down. Yeah, I stuffed him straight down, and he looks at me, he goes, "Fuck you, Barney." I was like, "Fuck you, Jim." And we both started laughing. So that, to me, like, that signifies I finally figured out how to compete at that same, like, I'm going to get you, but not have it define who I was by the play. It didn't matter. The result of the play was not who I was. It just was the result of the play. And I didn't pursue that with any less aggression, but I certainly applied less value to it, to me personally.
Yeah, you were more point to point and let it go afterwards, and then whistle blows, then you're back into it. That you were able to manage that as you got more mature, basically. But I was the same way, man. And Coley, I don't know if you were the same way, but
I was.
My freshman year was so hard for me because I was a football guy, and so you go play volleyball and everybody's talking smack. I talked a little smack in football, but I was just like, I'm here the next play. Just make sure your head's on a swivel because I'm here, right? So I was that silent competitor that wanted to kick your ass every chance I could possibly get. So when you get to college, play volleyball, I'm like, what am I going to do? Hit harder at them? That was rough for me. That was a rough mental, and I'm still the same way. But I mean, you went to a totally different level than I did, but still, it's always stuck with me. So
I love talking shit, though. That was my favorite.
Coley, you did it. You did it whistle to whistle, and you were always like everybody respected each other after it was all said and done. Just the same experience that Kevin just talked about, right? It's like, fuck you, and you guys start laughing after.
But that was like when I was in high school. And my senior year in playing club, like I didn't care for anybody. Like I was like him. All I wanted to do was win. I could give a shit who you were. When we got into college and you started playing these, World University Games teams, and I'm hanging out with Knipe and Presh, and you're starting to be there as a team for the summer. Yeah. That changes things to some extent, right? Like I still want to kick the shit out of you, and I'll still talk shit to you, but it's a little different, like you were saying, Kevin. It's different that way, but. I don't know, like when I was younger, all the way through college, even after when I was playing, all I wanted to do was win. It didn't matter. I could give a shit about anything else but winning. If I had whatever I needed to do to win was what I wanted. And so, some people are cut like that. Some aren't. I think there's things different today. But that's what I listen to you, Barney, and you, it's tough for me and the old athlete, and then listening to the therapist, I wouldn't call it therapist, the other day is.
Oh, she was wonderful.
She was amazing, but it's tough because I look at you and your story, and like I said, like obviously we can't go back, but if we take a magic wand and we give you this kindness and this beautiful soul, not that you don't have one, and you come out are you swinging at that ball, serving, running 45 yards, running back, sitting, and for 30 minutes till Chris Young says, hey, come over here real quick. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But if you're that soft, I fuck you attitude, you might not be, you might, right? But probably not. Yeah. And so like
in 2000 is what I was kind of getting at, right? Not necessarily before and to get there, but that 2000 potentially could help. So I want to pivot a little bit. And so you go pro. Volleyball's been your life since you come out of high school, and it's hardcore, a lot of time. You got a family, come back to the States. What do I do? How in the world did you get connected to the broadcast to do volleyball? I mean, because all of a sudden we see Kevin Barnett at the Olympics sitting next to Paul Sunderland. Where's Chris Marlowe, right? Got this young Olympian there sitting down. How did you get into it? Because I'll tell you what, I'm hard on the announcers on TV today. I'm tired of us being the stepchild to get somebody from college and going, hey, go announce. And they have no idea what they're talking about. They don't talk our language. Our sport is on the pinnacle. In my humble opinion, on the women's side, is going to take over women's basketball. We're right there. And I'm tired of it. So when I heard you first, of course you were raw, right? Totally get it. But like I said, when I first introduced you, Holly McPeak, yourself, Paul Sunderland, I mean, you're in the top 5. So enjoyable, pros, right? So enjoyable to listen to because you speak our language. You don't talk down to us. So how did you get into that? What do you want?
It's already far surpassed women's basketball. So like, I mean, there's a pro league.
I'm talking dollars wise, media wise, right? I think they're just
the media wise is a choice.
Basketball.
Yeah.
Right.
The media thing is a choice the media has to make.
Switching. Yes, I agree. I totally agree. But I think
I want you to have him answer those questions. But to go back to what you said, the reason I interrupted is this weekend, let's see if Wisconsin, Ohio State, or whoever's playing volleyball and watch the basketball games, and let's see who gets more fans.
Agreed.
It would be women's volleyball. So go ahead. Get back to Barnett's question.
Good stuff. So yes, that's why I want to know. So you get back, when you get back from your international professional, are you lost? Do you not know what to do? Do you, or like, how long did it take you to bounce back? And then who got you introduced to the broadcast booth? And then Bear and I were talking earlier. I have a little more detailed questions about your profession, but I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. The loss thing is the thing. And I tell people all the time, they love to bang on athletes about not making that transition successfully in their late 20s, early 30s, whenever it happens for the athlete. You've been lucky enough to be a pro. And I always tell folks, okay, let's say you're an accountant and you come out of school and you go work at one of the big firms and you're working there for 7 or 8 years. You're rising up. You're a stud in that organization. You're starting to make good money. And then all of a sudden, one day, somebody puts a pink slip on your desk and that's it. You're done. They say, you can't work here. You can't work at any of the other firms. You can't be an accountant anymore. That person would struggle exactly the same as an athlete struggles with that transition from this thing that was a lifestyle and a person, like a whole person choice, which even being an accountant isn't. This is a whole nother level, but even just from a professional side. And now you have to figure out something completely different to gain skills to start at the bottom of, to invest time at skill acquisition. So that has nothing to do with being an athlete and everything to do with being a person. And I absolutely went through that time period. Now, what happened for me is that I flipped roles with my wife. So I was going to be a real estate agent. That was my plan. I'd taken real estate classes. I was selling real estate actively in Colorado Springs. We were going to stay. My wife's from here. We had 2 kids. My second one had been born right before the Olympic Games. So I'd gone through another year of injury, and it's 2006 and I'm retired. And I was selling real estate, and one of us said to the other, hey, I've been thinking about moving back to California. Because my mom lives here in the South Bay. My in-laws live here in the South Bay. They're from here. And the other one said, yeah, me too. I was like, oh, really? So from that moment to where we had decided that we were going to move, that's it, we're leaving, was about 36 hours. Because I called her the next day. I'm like, I can't stop thinking about moving. And she goes, yeah, me either. I'm like, okay, I'll be home in a little bit. We'll like pros and cons this thing. And we did. And we decided we're leaving. We called everybody here and said, we're leaving. It was 90 days from that day till we had sold a house in Colorado, rented a house here. My wife had picked up a job. She had been the stay-at-home mom, but she had the business degree, the MBA. And I was the stay-at-home dad. 90 days.
Been there.
So that was my next career. Here are the 2 and 4 year old. Good luck with them today. So that's what I did. And it was a real struggle to have been an Olympian and done all the things I did. And now I'm in charge of sandwiches and making sure people get goldfish on the way home from school.
That's right.
That's a tough job.
Dora the Explorer, baby.
Yeah. Diego. Yeah. We're all about Diego. So, you know, it's, that was a thing.
I like
and I remember, we still quote Swiper around here.
That's so funny.
I took my kid to the actual show, like
did you?
The Explorer show at the Segerstrom, and Jake got to go to it. He loved it. Both my boys loved Dora the Explorer.
Live action Dora.
Yeah, that's right.
I love it.
That's right.
I absolutely said to my wife at one point, I was breaking down. I didn't know what to do. I think I had been out in the back and just beating the shit out of some cardboard boxes and in just a rage of like, I don't even know. I was like, imagine, you know, I was born to do a thing. I found the thing that I was really good at. I was lucky to find it. I'm really good at that thing. I'm good at competing. I'm good at showing up every day. I'm good at hitting the ball harder every time because you blocked me the last time. I'm good at all those things. And now I can't do any of those things. What do I do? So that was a real struggle. And the announcing came along just as an opportunity. I had been the guy that would pick up the microphone on the bus. I had run a bunch of videotape. I have videotapes here that could get any number of people fired from whatever profession they're in. If I were to put those on the internet. So I had been that guy that would narrate stuff and whatever else. So USA Volleyball called me in 2007 and said, hey, we're looking for somebody to do World League. You know, it's like, I think it was $500 a match or something terrible. Or maybe it was $50 a match. I don't remember how much it was. It was terrible. I had done some broadcasting for a local cable company just because there was an open call, and Phil Etherton had gone in Colorado. I said, hey, Phil, if you don't want to do it, like I'll go do it. So I called some volleyball and basketball, and USA Volleyball offered me this opportunity. That's how I got started, was an analyst. And now I'm sitting next to Chris Marlowe. Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Chris Marlowe? Not fake Chris Marlowe? And so, I got a chance to work with Marlowe, and I enjoyed it. I think next to playing, it's the next best thing. It's the same performance. You get to be a part of it where you're good or bad. Somebody won or lost, and you won or lost if you were good or bad, and you get to come back the next day and try again because there'll be another match. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and talking about the game, and I learned how to talk about the game. And Paul and Chris, Paul, who I worked with later, and really were terrific in helping me along with, hey, here's your job. Your job is to how and why, and give me a little more here. Give me a little more of this or a little more of that. And when you start any career, whether it be volleyball or some other professional career, you're trying to imitate people at first. You're trying to like do the thing that they're doing to figure out the mechanics of it. And I did that for a while. And I think about 5 years in, I figured out, I was like, wait a minute, I need to be more me on air here and just be myself.
Yep. Because it's more authentic for sure.
It is. And it's more entertaining. Like, I'm not there to hammer people, but I call balls and strikes. Like there is no good without bad. There is no great without dead terrible. And you have to call it the way it is. Like, if that's dead terrible, that's dead terrible. Missing 96 serves in the 2021 Olympic Games and not making the crossover playoff is dead terrible. That's not how you play the game. Like, do I feel the pain of TJ DeFalco sitting along the border of the court when they did not make it and he's there crying? 100%. I feel that man's pain. I was there in 2000. We were awful. At least they won some matches. We didn't win any. You know, I feel those moments. I feel the pain when those guys are in 2016 gonna go to the Olympic final. Like, they're in the semis, they're gonna win this match, and Zaitsev goes back and hits 6 of the hardest serves I've ever seen in my life. And like, 2 of them are overpasses, 2 of them are aces of Eric Shoji's, who's outstanding, into the crowd, like unbelievable. I feel that moment. And I feel that moment again with Wilfredo Leon this last Olympic Games when they're going to the final again, but largely the same group of guys from 2016, and they're going again. And then Wilfredo Leon wakes up and goes back and hits however many, 5 of the craziest serves you've ever seen in your life. And now they're not going. You know, and I'm taking water bottles and just smashing them around the booth, you know, because I'm an alumni. Like, I want to see him succeed. So, yeah, I don't know. That's how I approach it.
I was just going to say, and you're truthful, and I think that's an important piece. Watching some of the greatest broadcasters of all time talk about sports, and whether you're watching a baseball game, a football game, and listen to them, is like Sully said, being authentic matters. You already have the knowledge of the game. I mean, being able to play it, but that doesn't mean you're good at what you do. It doesn't mean coaches, just because they played for years, are good coaches. It doesn't mean people that played for good years are good broadcasters or commentators. You got to hone your craft, but you do have that knowledge. And so to learn to do it yourself and to keep it real, I think is important. I don't like the fluff. I've never liked the fluff in any sport. Like, oh yeah, it was like, no, that was a shitty play. That was a terrible play. Like, I used to be bad too. Like, that's what you say. Like, again, more authentic, more reality. If I'm watching it, I'm trying to be hooked into following the sport. I want you to tell me exactly what just happened, not like beat around the bush so I don't really know what happened. Like, kind of make it like, perfectly correct for everyone. Like, that's the other thing. I'm going on a tangent, but like, when people get hit in the face now, we talked about this, like, you and I already know where you are, but people get hit in the face now and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I hit you. It's like,
are you okay?
Like, what?
Nope.
What are you talking about? Like, you just hit the ball. You should be not cheering, but you know what I mean. So it's the same thing. Like, being real is important. So I'm glad that you have that authenticity within yourself and you're able to be honest. I think that's what people probably, gravitate to. And I know we do. And Sully already said it. You're doing a hell of a job. You're one of the best out there. And that's probably a big part of it.
I'm actively trying to hit you in the head every single play when I'm playing. 100%. If I can hit you in the face,
exactly, me too,
and then hit you in the face on the next play, I guarantee you're not going to dig me the third time, because it won't matter. You will not be thinking about digging the ball. You just be thinking about defending yourself. Never. And I always say, when people, they do this across the net, like, never apologize for greatness. Don't worry about it. We can apologize after the match. Yeah. We don't want the opposing athlete to be injured, obviously. We can talk about this after the match, but in the moment of competition, no.
Well said. Never apologize for greatness. I like it.
I've always wondered about your profession. How?
Yeah.
Okay. So are you a freelance? How do you get your gigs? How do you get paid? Is it salary per match? Like, I don't know the details but I've always wondered. Like, I've always wondered. Like, I don't know if you're an NBC guy or an ESPN. Okay. I'd love to know. Depends. I mean, I seriously. Okay.
Yeah. I don't have a full employment at ESPN. I work for a loan out company, which I was actually dealing with today. So there I'm an employee of another company that then is loaned to ESPN. In NBC's case, I'm an employee. In the case of AVP, I get paid as an independent contractor. So it just depends where you are along the way. And it has been different by those properties in different years. Who pays me, how they pay me. And it's been different based on tax rules as well. It used to be years ago, I was completely independent contractor, and then several people were forced via tax changes to convert me to an employee, because I get told when and where to be.
Right.
Right. Yeah, it just varies. Yeah. And you build up a rotating calendar that works, that repeats.
Do you think, with where the game's going, which we can pivot to this with women's and what's going on in the tournament, do you think that someday soon an ESPN, for an example, or a CBS will full-time you like they do basketball commentators or football commentators, like in the professional league? Like, where Tony Romo is, you're not going to watch him on ESPN and then on CBS and on Amazon. He is on a network and they pay him handsomely for it. Do you think, with the growth of the sport, do you think that's a probable goal for you, but for younger broadcasters looking to get into the space? Do you see it happening or no? Or possible?
No, I don't think any one entity is going to be big enough in any time soon. Those are pretty unique situations, the NFL and the NBA. I don't think anything's going to be that monstrous. And there's too many varied, leagues. The college right now is bigger than the pro thing, but the pro thing is building up. ESPN's investing a tremendous amount of resources and attention to the game to grow the game collegiately and its presence on the ESPN family of networks. And that's ACC, SEC, all those different networks. They continue to do a ton of investment in raising the profile of the game. And I don't think I'm going to end up in any one singular place. There are some folks wanting exclusives for one time period, but I don't think the money will ever be big enough that I say, yeah, you can have my time for this period of time and nothing else for the rest of the year, or you're going to have me mostly year round. I just don't think it works.
Well, my hope is in 10 years that women's volleyball at the professional level, I would love to see it for men, but we got to be realistic. In 10 years, it's by far the largest women's professional sport in this country, if not the world. And it's on national television like the collegiate games are on the Saturdays and the Sundays. And people are making a lot of money. And it's a great, I mean, it's already trending that way, but that's what my hope is. So maybe, I mean, you'd still be doing this in 10 years unless you want to just retire and travel all over with your wife. But like, I don't know. I don't know if it's possible, but the money going into it, the exposure going into it is young. And I want to get back to the youth in a minute, but as much as they're playing it, who knows? I mean, anything's possible. And
people
I would
have
love
to keep
to see
putting butts
something
in
like
seats. People have to keep coming and putting
agreed.
butts in seats. That's going to be the key. So one of the real problems I have with the volleyball community is an unwillingness to spend money, the unwillingness to value people and value the game. And I told some folks out here who were complaining this summer about the fact the AVP was at the Intuit Dome and not outside and not free. And you had to pay for tickets and you had to pay for parking.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you going to go? No, probably not. I said, well, maybe you don't like volleyball as much as you think you like volleyball.
Right.
Well, I like to play it. I just don't like to watch it. Well, that's not a good long-term solution for everybody. We need people that enjoy watching it. One of the true miracles of Wisconsin or Nebraska, who you'll see in action this week, look when they show the crowd. It's not ex-volleyball players. It's people. It's general people. That's the win.
Mm-hmm.
That is the win. And that's the thing with these volleyball leagues too. I think they have yet to really figure out that their marketing still has to be hyper local. You can't do your marketing on social. You can't say, well, we do a ton of Instagrams. Doesn't matter, because by the time you take Instagram and let's say you got 1 million hits or 1 million views on some video, and that would be a success. Look, we got 1 million views. Okay, that would be great. Here's 1 million views worldwide. Here's the portion that are in the United States. Here's the portion that are in the state where your team plays. Here's the portion that are within 50 miles of the town where you're actually going to hold a match. And now here's the portion of that portion of people that might come and sit down that you touched.
And pay.
Right? There are more people who would come and sit down, but that Instagram post only found that many people. So you have to continue to do all those local things that the social media companies, Google, whatever, would have you believe are not the way to market anything anymore. Well, if you have a sports team and you want butts and seats or you want eyeballs on TV, you still have to build it at that level, that touch, person to person, camp to camp, player to player way to get folks to buy into watching your product.
Yeah, I totally agree. I bring up UNI, Northern Iowa, all the time. So I'm in Peoria, Illinois, and I was up there at UNI, and it's people. And then when we played Nebraska there, it was people. When you go into Nebraska, you think they're going to be very in your face and loud, and because it's just Nebraska football you have in your head, right? But you get there, so knowledgeable. They were screaming when there was great rallies, and just that's the kind of environment that you need everywhere, but it takes effort, and it takes effort from the administration too. I mean, I've been to universities that administrations just don't care. They care about men's basketball. That's it.
It's changing though. I mean, it's changing. Look where we are today.
At the top end, I don't disagree with you, right? But in terms of the whole landscape, right? I still think we've got some work to do for sure. But
agreed.
But so Barney, are you going to be calling any matches for the NCAA tournament? And do you know which ones?
Yeah. I'll be on a regional this year for ESPN, which is a nice upgrade for me to get an opportunity to do the playoffs. Did the SEC tournament a week ago, and I'll be on a regional final. So we'll send somebody to the Final Four, and I'll be in Kentucky. At least that's the plan. Kentucky has to win the first 2 rounds.
Okay.
But the plan is to be in Kentucky and see if the Wildcats can get themselves to another Final Four. It'll be a tough one. It'll be ASU, USC in that side of the bracket, and Creighton.
Texas.
Are kind of the 4 teams.
Yeah,
Texas too, right? Oh no, Texas is in the other one. They would.
Yeah, Texas.
Yeah, no, they'd be playing Kentucky in the Final Four if they were to get in. You're right.
Yeah, I
They're
think
in that
up
last
above
bracket
them
they
is
announced
Texas, Stanford, Wisconsin, and who am I missing? Somebody.
It's getting deeper
Indiana.
and deeper, boys.
How about that? Indiana.
I was talking to Ferbs about that with who Charlie had. So, but here's the thing, though,
Right.
with what you guys were saying, and I could talk to you forever. So whenever you need to go, Kev, just let us know. But I want to get back to the youth in a minute because you mentioned it and it's really important to me. But I hear what you both are saying, and you're around it way more than I am, Kevin. You're calling games, you're listening to it, and all the stuff you'd said. But I can tell you this: I've never seen more excitement in my life from people that didn't play volleyball, that know I play volleyball, texting me yesterday, watching the show on ESPN.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Like, you watch college basketball, it's been the greatest thing since we've watched it. March Madness, and they announced the teams, and it's such a big deal, and everyone pays attention to that because there's brackets and money. No one gave a shit 3 years ago, not 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, about the show or about the your pairings, other than the teams and the families. I was getting 10, 15 texts from people that I work with, people that know I do volleyball, and about that show. That tells me the game has changed dramatically in just the last 2 or 3 years for women's college volleyball. The growth, the excitement, people were engaged, involved, and paying attention to the brackets. And I don't know. I just see it going nowhere but up. And it's an exciting time for me to be around. I'm married to a women's volleyball player. And my son just got engaged to a women's volleyball player. So to see that sport grow and just blossom the way it is, for me, it's awesome. It was a great day yesterday watching the show and texting friends and others too. So I think
Kevin said it. Media just has to make the switch. They have to decide, this is what we're going to do. This is where the money's going to go, is women's volleyball. And I agree with you, Coley. It's the avalanche is going on right now. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's the investment that ESPN is making. That's what you're seeing. So it's the channel selection. The fact that the semis are on ESPN and the finals are on ABC. Those are conscious choices to apply those matches to bigger and better networks. I was on ESPN twice this year, big ESPN, doing a match just mid-season. That never would have happened before. But ESPN has seen the value, seen the investment. They have to buy into the notion of the growth and then see it happen when they do it. And then they'll buy in a little bit more. And the sport is still trying to take, particularly at the NCAA level, a lot of the advocates for women's sports writ large were former women's basketball athletes. So what do you think gets the most attention? Women's basketball.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would make an argument that women's volleyball is a better sport than women's basketball when it comes to watching it on TV, for me. But the investment hasn't really been there for women's volleyball to raise the profile. ESPN's the kingmaker. NBC during the Olympic Games is the kingmaker. NBC talks about how the beach volleyball rates so high. You go, well, yeah, because you put it on in primetime every night. You made that decision to do that, so of course it rates high. You go, look, the ratings are high. Well, yeah, you put it on there. If you put on indoor volleyball at the same time, the ratings would be high. You'd be like, oh, look, indoor volleyball is really popular. Yeah, because you put it there. You can be the kingmaker.
Right.
So ESPN is choosing right now to invest in the game, and that's hugely important. They have a lot of good advocates in place, more tools, more broadcasts, more cameras, better channels. It's all going the right way.
Before we go or move on to the next, I have a question for you back to the youth sports. You talked about that we do it way differently than other countries. How would you change? We're trying to get Spur on here. He was supposed to. He was busy. Because I want to ask him this question. Because I know it's the same thing with basketball. That's why the NBA is starting to be just filled with foreigners. The game's changed. Northridge has over half the players on its team from not this country. Hawaii has a bunch. What do we need to do, in Kevin Barnett's opinion? You just gave a great opinion on growing the sport. You played it over in Europe. You played in 2 Olympics. You're around it all the time right now. What can we do, and you had kids that played it, change to help our country still be dominant in those sports? In that sport for both men and women. Yeah. Like, how do you change from 10U, 12U on to train the right way, to be better suited, to be better at that point where you said where we're far behind? How do you change it? What would you do? as I guess within our youth sports?
Really broad question that I haven't thought about in a while. Like, would you get rid of high school and just go to a club model? But high school is a traditional place. I like that players play in high school. I like that people play multiple sports for a long time and don't just play one sport. I'd rather they play 3 different sports for a long time. The Coleys of the world being really good at least 2 sports. I think it's good for your body. I think it's good for your mind. I think it's good for you figuring out what you want to do.
Absolutely.
Because while you might be good at a sport, you have to have to achieve at a level like I did or your pro level now. You have to have the physical capability, and a lot of that is not your choice. That's a genetic lottery. You have to have the will to get better at it, right? And then you need some of the opportunity. And inside the will part, you have to kind of enjoy it. You have to enjoy it enough to keep doing it. And I've seen some players with some tremendous physical gifts, and they really don't enjoy it. They may be physically made to play a game, but they're not mentally made to play a game.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you don't have all 3 of those, then you're not going to achieve it at a really high level for a very long time, at least then have it be beneficial to you. Now, there are varying degrees of those things. There are some people with some physical gifts that they can do almost nothing and still defeat almost everybody. It's just, it's wild to see. And every level you go up, you think you have physical gifts, and you run to some other guy and you're like, wow, that dude can really do some stuff. So you get to LeBron James, and then you go, okay, well, there's the top of the heap in a few categories. Those kinds of guys, but those guys exist all over the place. In volleyball, I ran into those guys all the time. There are a few guys in the world that during warm-ups, the rest of the 0.1% of people who are warming up in that particular match are watching that one guy hit a ball and just going, that's crazy. That guy's 0.0001%, So I don't know if we really need to change a ton.
Should they play as much? Let me ask you that. Like, so you look at club, like say you're 12 and under, you're in 6th grade. What do they do in Europe if you're in 6th grade?
I think you play in your local club. I don't really know. I know I would see more of the high school kids, high school, early college kids that would play in our clubs. And they're playing in and out of practice, right? They're in and out of the bottom of practice while playing on their own teams. I know the girls' side of club is much different than the boys' side. There's so much more travel. There's so many more demands. It's a much bigger pool of athletes. So I can't speak to that experience. Tommy Hoff's got 5 girls, most of whom play.
Yeah, we need to get him on here too. He hasn't been on here yet, and the reasons being a Long Beach 49er and just played with us at Paul Mitchell and just go on forever. And we all love him. He's a great guy. But
you can ask him why he used Ohio State as a junior college. He'll love that question. He was ahead of the transfer game before the transfer game was a thing. But
yes, I don't. And he didn't have to sit out, right? He didn't have to sit out, did he?
I don't think so.
It wasn't within conference. Yeah, nope. He came right in, played.
No transfer. He was the first part of the portal before the portal was even existed. Damn.
He said we're going to take my talents to Long Beach.
I mean, I'm around it, Barney. I'm around it with hoops, and you see the Europeans come over here, and everyone's like, "Oh, they're more skilled." Like, listen, the athletes here in the United States are still, I'll say it for every sport, is second to none. It's just unbelievable. But there's so much playing. There's so little men on development and structure and training and getting better. It's about playing and playing and playing and playing. And we got to qualify this weekend. Oh shit, we didn't qualify last week. And you're like, you're 13 years old. You don't even pass the ball well enough. What are you worrying about qualifying for? And so that's where I'm at. Like, I think, and I lived it, you did too, but I lived it with my pocketbook and watching my kids from 3rd grade on, my son's almost done in high school, of traveling all over the country to watch them play basketball. And I'm glad we did. It was fun. But like, to think if you could cut half of that off, like half of it, and you stayed home and you practiced it and you trained and you got to hang out with your family on the weekends, right? And for some of us, if whatever it is, some of us get to go to church on a Sunday. Like, some of us can't, like, there's so many things you could do for your family and these kids' mindset if they weren't playing every single weekend. And it was so important to get to that one spot when you're 12. And that's where I kind of think, if we could get back to teaching better, learning more, playing less, and making those times they play that much more important. like JOs for volleyball or AAUs is important, but I don't know. I just think we play too much.
Two things come to mind. One, it takes a tremendous amount of courage to not participate in that race and feel like you're falling behind. I covered motocross for a while, supercross. I did that for about 4 or 5 years. And Eli Tomac was one of the up-and-coming riders at the time. Now he's a legend, been riding forever. But Eli, his father, John Tomac, was a world champion mountain bike rider. And that dude was super gnarly. And so when Eli was coming up, and by the way, motocross riders go pro at 16, he would actually hold Eli out of all kind of events from the time he was 12 to 16. Eli didn't ride all the time. He wasn't at all the big races and trying to win all those races at Loretta Lynn's and this and that. He wasn't doing the whole thing because John said he wasn't going to do it. He wasn't going to burn him out. And so he did not participate in that race. So as a parent, you have the option to not participate in that race. And that is one way you can reduce that burden. Now it's going to take a tremendous amount of courage. It's going to take the right situation. It's going to take the right kid to come back into club and dominate everybody and win that spot back. Two, once you get to the collegiate level, if you could remove some of the blocks to the training, that would equate more to the pro European model in volleyball in particular. Get rid of the, whatever it is, 6 hours or 8 hours every week or whatever it is you can do, and actually run some real practices in the fall for your spring season, or run a longer series of practices in the spring for your fall season for the women's side of things. Start the season a week earlier on the women's side, have them back there and have them training earlier. It would reduce the injuries for the women come the end of August, that they could actually train in June and July as a squad. It becomes more of a professional pursuit. There certainly would still need to be some guidelines because coaches will get too crazy. You could structure it differently there to allow for more training blocks versus just the competition. But it's going to get dicey, and people are going to complain about the kids are just doing that and not focusing on school, yada, yada. It's true. I mean, that's why the Europeans are better, is because they do not have the school component largely. It's not a thing. Yeah. And like I said, it doesn't benefit the ones that don't make it, but it does benefit the ones that do.
What degree did you get at Pepperdine or pursue?
Great question, Sully. I did not.
I said pursue.
So I was pre-vet. I was doing biology, and my plan was to go to veterinary school at UC Davis and be a vet. That was my whole anti-volleyball plan. But as volleyball went better, and then I had to take OChem, and they wanted me to be in the lab all the time. I was like, hey, I need to play volleyball.
Can't do it.
I can't, and so I went to psychology, and psychology was great because as long as you could justify your opinion, you could be right. So I could justify my opinion. I mean, witness my job now is just justifying my own stupid opinion most of the time on air. So psychology was perfect for me. But I was basically a year short, or a light second semester or second half of the year short. When I went to the national team, my plan was, if this goes well, I'm going to stay and play while I can. If it doesn't, I was going to come back and play for the basketball team my senior year. And I had put all those ducks in a row to do that. Yeah. But then I ended up 10 years later with a couple of kids and being a stay-at-home dad and then an announcer. And I don't know. One day I'll go back.
I ask because when we had Alan Knipe on here, and we brought this up numerous times on our podcast, is he brought up, why not have a degree to be an athlete? Right? There is a degree for band, dance, art,
psychology, if you want to be a psychologist,
right? Yeah. So why not have a degree that has really all the courses at the university already? Business, communications, contract, right? Contract, a little law degree in there, and social media now, and how to deal with that, finance, all that kind of good stuff to basically major as an athlete. Would you have pursued that when you were at college?
A degree in athletics?
Yeah, just being an athlete.
Maybe. What can I do with that afterwards? What is it training me?
Well, you became a professional athlete.
Sports administration. Is it basically a sports administration degree, sports management degree?
It's kind of everything. But like, think about it. If I want to be a violinist and I'm going to music school and I'm going to school there, it doesn't make me a lock to be a violinist afterwards to get at the Philharmonic or get a job. I might leave school after college, training those 4 years, and go become a chef, right? So like the degree itself is everything incorporating about being an athlete, marketing yourself, understanding business, understanding health, understanding fitness, understanding kinesiology, how the body works, how to recover. Not just say go to recover, but like actually teaching. You have a class for recovery, why, what the muscles, how the fascia is, all those things, learning basically what athletes should know about their body. And so again, you're still getting economics, you're getting finance, you're getting sports, you're getting all the other things that you would kind of get with it. And it was a night, made a good. I loved it. We brought it up to a few other hosts as well, or guests, and thought what your opinion was.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. I think they already have it in maybe sports management. It's kinesiology. If you had that component, it's gonna be a lot harder than comms for a lot of people.
True, for sure.
I've often what I wanted to see done, if I had a perfect world, I would give athletes come and represent the university for 4 years, play the sport. That's what you're here to do. You're here to play the sport. You're not here to go to class. Play the sport, represent the university, promote the university, do that, especially for football and basketball. And we're going to give you a 4-year degree opportunity that, particularly on the men's side, for men in general versus women, would be far more valuable from the ages of, say, 24 to 28. If you were in school at that point, because all of us think back like, man, I would get so much out of school right now. I'd be into it. Yeah. I would learn. I'd be so focused on it. Whereas at 18 to 22, men are just a bunch of like, we want to be out and running around and playing sports and doing things. And if you talk to a men's basketball team at, lower D1 level, there are 10 guys convinced they can make the NBA if only they got a shot. I could do it. I could do it. If you talk to 10 women at the bottom of D1, don't one of them think they're going to the WNBA. Not one of them. They're focused on life in general. This is an irrational thing that men deal with. So you as an athlete, you would have the choice. You can either get, straight up college athletics experience and then have your degree pocketed, put that thing in a pocket and bring that thing back out after you're done. In an ideal world, I think that would be great. It's bad from a standpoint of the university because it's an unfunded liability and it messes up their balance sheet. But I think that would be, as far as bringing value to the athlete, that would be better.
Well, I think again, you said something today because obviously Lane Kiffin just left, and there's all these things new. Everyone says it's about the athlete, it's about the kid. It's never about the kid from the business side of it. You actually just put an idea in about the kid, about the child, about the adult, about whoever it is. You go there for 4 years, you play, you take a class or two if you want to help you towards that degree, whatever it is, and then you either become a pro, like you haven't finished yet. Whether you go back or not doesn't matter, but you still haven't finished. So like a lot of these, we're talking football and basketball, you were saying, like a lot of these athletes aren't going to finish anyways, right? They're not going to finish anyway. They're going to go try to be a pro. They're going to transfer. They're just going to quit. They're going to go get jobs. So now you give them that opportunity to go play sports. And then, like you said, I never liked school, but I liked to learn when I was older, right? Way more, like you said. And I think that's something I'm going to start bringing up on this to ask other people. I mean, it's more money in some ways, but it's probably a way better solution and heartfelt help for the young athlete, the young adult that's going through that whole process. You're going to give them a better chance to succeed if you did it your way. I think that, I've never heard of that, but I would think that at 25 to 27 years old, you want to become a psychologist. So now you're really going to study. You're really going to listen. You're really going to pay attention. You don't have to worry about sports anymore because you're done playing.
Gen Ed's done in 4 years instead of 2 years, right? So you're taking less, more focus, and then you finish your last two. Interesting.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Interesting concept. Cool. Well, boys, you got anything else for our wonderful guest here on Set the Pipe?
Like to have you back.
Yeah.
To have you back.
Especially after the women's tournament. I know that's a quick turnaround and maybe early next year, but I'd love to see your feedback because last year's tournament was absolutely amazing. You're going to be in the thick of things. So would love to have you back. But everybody, Kevin Barnett, for two-time Olympian.
Thanks for having me
today. Yeah, man.
Thanks for coming on.
You're amazing. Appreciate you.
Stuff.